I don't know if I have any energy to scream.
Okay, we'll open this meeting on July 12th at 4:30 p.m. We stand pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first up on the list, we're going to talk about the Agricultural Commission information. And Martha, I see you're here.
I'm here.
Right?
How are you?
That's
Good.
handouts for them too.
So I have my letter of intent for joining the board, and I also have Sharon's letter. She said she dropped it at the town hall, but I wasn't sure.
I think she left it with Marilyn got it.
That's why she sent me a copy, just in case. I said, okay, well, just bring that.
And you have 3 people here?
Sharon couldn't make it.
Okay.
She received essays today.
Okay, so there's 2 of these.
That is.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Also on that, when we talked about unfinished business on green communities,
Yep.
that would be Berkshire Regional Planning Commission is here to talk about net zero.
Okay.
And then these are the,
Now, what do we need to do for the agricultural information?
we're gonna can appoint these 2 anyway, and then go over, what's in here,
Okay.
expectations and process.
All right. You want to do that?
Sure. So, town meeting, it was voted with the efforts of Martha Tanner to form an agricultural commission. So we did some research on the steps necessary to create an agricultural commission. So you have the handout, and there's a couple of things. We'd like to do the appointments. Before you do your first meeting, though, we'd like to have you get sworn in by the town clerk. You're going to need to, and I can certainly help you on open meeting laws and things of that nature. And you're going to have to do your ethics online. And a couple of items that are kind of interesting is with an agricultural commission, you're going to make some recommendations and hopefully guide some policy for promoting the production of locally grown foodstuffs. And also part and parcel of that, as we are a green community, but we are also a pollinator-friendly community, because if you have no bees, then you have no crops. You have no crops, you have no food. You have no food, you have no people. And so that probably should be part and parcel of your purview moving forward. So do you have any questions and or requests of us before they do your appointments?
I guess my only question would be, we've reached out to a few other people in town
Yep.
who own some farmland.
Yes.
We haven't heard back from them.
Okay.
So it's just Sharon and I at this point. If we were to find someone else who's interested, I guess what would be, how would we get them to be included?
So they could submit a letter of interest there, and I'm assuming that it's going to be a 3-member board.
That's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, and it's been tough getting people to serve, believe me, I know. And they could submit a letter of interest, and I don't see any reason why we wouldn't, unless there's something glaringly terrible that, and I'm sure you wouldn't do that, so I'm not even worried about that. But if you do find another, and they do need to be a resident of the community, if they do have an interest in serving on the Agricultural Commission, by all means, have them submit a letter of interest either to myself or to the town clerk, and we'll get them appointed as quickly as possible at our next select board meeting. And so I think that we need appointments from the board for a Martha Tanner and a Sharon, I can't read without my glasses. Wymick?
Wyrick?
Yeah.
Say Wyrick. Okay, so I'll make a motion to appoint Martha Tan and Sharon Wyrick to the Agricultural Commission.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Welcome aboard.
And thank you for doing
Thank you,
that.
yes.
It's most needed.
We're excited about it. It should be fun.
Well, looking forward to seeing the results.
Yeah.
Yep.
Look forward to working with you, and it's exciting to see that there's people that are actually interested in helping the town. Thank you.
Okay, next is, we got down here hazard mitigation plan and municipal vulnerability plan, which all has to do with our drainage, and of course with the storm here, it hits right to home. But this is a good area to talk about all our problems we have in town. I don't, I know I went around, but Kyle, I don't know if you want to say anything, just...
I don't know where you want me to begin about.
Okay. I can start. I mean, Horgan Road, where
Oregon Road, yeah.
where I live, had two culverts collapse, and one of them at the beginning took over about a third of a lane, and it's even hollow underneath more of it. Kyle went down. Kyle was from 1 o'clock in the Monday morning right through, has been working, and we'd like to thank Kyle and his crew for the job they did to make sure that we stayed safe and fixing some of these issues. It was no easy task.
Also, good landslide in Westville right now. That is becoming probably a #1 priority once Oregon Road is stabilized and open. Or the lower culvert they have stabilized right now for rain coming. And the upper one that's going to work on, that should be good tomorrow morning to be replacing that.
Okay.
And we are up on Westville right now.
Okay. West Road, if you get up on the dirt part, anybody's been up there, you know, it just drops right off. Well, it just washed out up to the road. It took not much of the road, but it's like just, there's nothing there.
Exactly, and it's before it's on the asphalt.
Oh, is it on the asphalt? Sorry, to run, but it's not going to be any easy fix because it's so far down to the river. So you're probably going to have to put some kind of a steel
Plating in there.
Sheeting would be a approximate estimate for going there. We have to sheet that.
So I talked with Mark Lavasser to get, because we have to get our numbers into the legislature and NEMA by Friday for the damages that the town has gotten. And I spent a good portion of Monday getting wet and taking pictures. And we have significant damage throughout the town. And so we're looking at about $1.839 million as we sit right now. And that's a loose estimate, but in talking with Mark Lavasser, that specifically on the West Road one, really there's only one way to armor that embankment is with the steel plating. And so for 40 foot of steel plating, he's thinking that's going to, by itself, be about $800,000. So the costs are significant. So we went through the hazard mitigation program, and we've completed that, which allowed us to go into the municipal vulnerability program. And so we've identified areas where we have weaknesses in the community and that are subject to flooding. And it's, I don't know if it's ironic or we're spot on, but everywhere that flooded was in the MVP plan. So, and the MVP action grant will provide us with funding to remedy some of these flooding issues moving forward. And we do have a grant already in front of the MVP action grant program. We're waiting to hear back on that, which I think is also going to assist us with our reimbursement for the repairs we need to go through in town.
Yeah, another major problem is down on Carson Avenue where they took the dam out in Briggsville area. The river is shifted to the right as you're looking down from Gordon's garage, and it's just constantly into that banking. And we took a picture down there, and there's a swing set on the lawn across. And it's just a couple feet like from the end now because it just keeps eroding every time we get a major storm. Last year we had people come up and look at it, because our viewpoint is the state took the dam out and they created the problem, and the town has no means or money to fix something like that. They came up and they said, well, a lot of it is the natural course of the river, but we'll see what we can do, and it's just been going on and on. So we in turn have contacted through Berkshire Regional Planning them again to say something's got to be done. I know DEP doesn't like bulldozers and things in the river, but the center's got to be pushed over that right bank so that the center is now being the channel that goes down. And I don't know where we're going there, but that's also an issue. And the MVP, for those that don't know, it does, we applied, the first stage is done. We applied for a grant, it's about $250,000 to hire an engineer that's going to take a look at everything around there. And this goes down to the one-lane bridge. If you go across, there's a little brook right across from Lincoln Morris Drive. It goes from that area, comes back, includes all the senior center and community center area, all down to the school and town field. So, and over on Middle Road to where the pumping station is for the sewer. So it's a big area that it's covering, and we're hoping that this grant is supposed to be announced in August. Hopefully we get it. We did a lot of work on it, and I think we're in good shape to get it. And then we can engineer it, but it's still going to be, you know, a year or two before the work is done or completed. But hopefully that'll relieve a lot of the water problems there. I know at this time I'm going to bring up that we have an issue up where I live. You know, there's Beaver Brook that comes down that washed out Oregon Road. Well, Beaver Brook swings up around Conti Heights and goes up to beaver dams that are up there, sort of out of sight, away from everybody. There's two major dams that have been there. I've been there 45 years, and they've been there. We used to go over and bring the kids over to ice skate on them. But there's a new owner of the parcel of land there, and I'm just not sure what's going on, but I saw him trap a couple of beavers and bring them out through the field, so I'm concerned that is I just wrote a couple of things down because I think that is a wildlife sanctuary there. And I have seen, in just this last year, we've seen blue herons, American bitterns, turtles, ducks, beavers, Canadian geese, bear, moose, deer, fox, turkeys, an American eastern coyote, 2 red-tailed hawks, and an eagle, along with the frogs, etc. that are there. And it's a safe haven for that wildlife. And I think a lot of Clarksburg people don't realize that that's there, and it's been there for years. And I'm just worried that there may be an intent to get rid of the beavers and possibly break the dam. So I just wanted to bring that out publicly because I want to check into it, and I am checking into it personally. But I want to see what's going on, make sure that everything is followed legally. I did call the environmental police, and they said that it is up to the town to give the permit. I found out that professionals, I guess, were hired to take care of the beavers, but the environmental police said that the only way that they're supposed to be able to do that is if there's property and dwellings that are affected, and there are no dwellings there, and the property hasn't changed as far as the beavers. It's been that way forever, so there's not any encroachment of that pond coming up the field. The field's on an angle where I think they're looking to build. But anyway, I wanted to bring that up to make it public and to let people know that we are looking into it, and we'll see what goes on there. And then I also know, to get back to the flooding problem, I know, Bob, you came in. If anybody wants to talk about any issues, go ahead. Joe, go first.
I'm in a butter to that piece of land, and I just wanted to, echo hearing this, that I have a similar concern. I've known for years on the map for Massachusetts that's been a known wetland area for quite some time. Mm-hmm. The part that's right up against our property has been more of a farmland area. It was used for horses to graze for a long time, but up sort of as you get to the horizon there, it's been wetland forever. So I'm very concerned at hearing this. I would like to know if the beavers were relocated properly, were they killed, But the other thing I just wanted to mention was that when the current owners, before they were the current owners, they had expressed to me specifically that, like owners beforehand who had spoke of building on the property and who had been stopped continuously from any chance to build on the property, these people expressed that they basically would ride in the town and, make it happen that they could build. So I just that's what I heard. You can take it for what you will. But the point is that I'm concerned that hearing that the beaver being removed makes me wonder what the intention is with the wetland. And I know that previously there was talk about the only possibility for building was by them somehow getting a variance for a road through there.
Right.
So what I just want to leave the impression of is that I don't think it's, let alone to me as an abutter, but just to Clarksburg in general, as somebody who grew up in New York City, you have, a golden resource here of beauty and an environment that's been kept natural. And we've seen in this world that, you can't get it back once you give it up.
Yeah.
So, the land was purchased at pricing that was aligned with how it's settled, which is basically at a fire sale for somebody to farm on. And so I just want to make sure that we don't as a town end up rewarding somebody who gets a bargain sale at something and then turns it into an economic boom for themselves where they destroy the natural beauty.
Yeah, and that'll be all, and thanks for that, but that certainly would be down the road, because they're gonna have to follow all the zoning laws, and there'll be issues. The wetlands now is what my most concern is, because it does go by, Beaver Brook goes by my property, Jim Will's property, and down. And we have shallow wells also. We're only like 300 feet from the brook. I'm worried if something happens to that brook, could definitely affect people's properties and their wells. So anyway, we're looking into it, and we will keep on top of this. And
Bob, I'll just say one last thing, if I may. My concern is that if these beavers were removed already, it already telegraphs to me that some check and balance probably didn't occur. Like, how did we already get here? So I'm just saying that makes me worried about future steps.
That's why, that's why I brought it up, because I saw them go through the field with tracks, and it looked like a beaver hanging from, but it was too far away for me to verify that. But I knew something was up. Rochelle?
Sorry, can you please have your name and address?
Joseph Smith, 131 Oregon Road.
Okay, Bob?
Yeah, I didn't get to say anything before Kyle left, but I want to give him kudos for the work he's been doing. But I also took some this afternoon to go around and look at the damage. And I think a lot of it is a direct factor of lack of maintenance of our ditches. I did mention this to the members of the board. And I think that Kyle even needs more time, or we need to find more resources. You can't have the ditches filled right up to the blacktop. You can't have broken culvert pipes, crushed culvert pipes. So I think a lot of this is a shot in our own foot. But if we don't have the resources, and Kyle and his crew doesn't have the time to clean the ditches, we're going to be fixing these roads. And I've been told before, it's $1 million a mile.
Yeah.
So you can't have good road infrastructure without good ditches and drainage. If you drive around and you look at it, I believe we got 19 miles of road.
Yeah.
And I see a better part of it, probably close to 12 miles of it, the ditches, there's no maintenance at all. And then the other parts, there's just a little bit of the entrance to the culverts that are open. So I think we need to divert a little energy from different directions. I know we got to mow the cemeteries and things like that, but maybe a cemetery committee could be derived to take some of the focus off our town guys so they can do the actual infrastructure problems that we have.
Yeah, and it's an issue. Kyle did put in for an extra person this year because they can't keep up. They got 3 people, and it's just crazy. None of that, they have got to work in the winter. They cannot take vacations. So summer is when we're always short anyway.
12 weeks of vacation.
Yeah, 12 weeks vacation. You know, so one person's always gone, so they just can't keep up. And we weren't able to we weren't able to fund it because we're just so close to our levy limit, and there's so many other things in town we need money for. But as we're doing the roads, like Middle Road, we got a grant for, we have taken our Chapter 90 funds to fix a culvert down the Middle Road, so when they do it, the drainage will all be fixed. So as we fix roads, we are definitely concentrating on drainage. But it doesn't, you're right, it doesn't solve the immediate problem. And
This is a long time.
There's not a
If you
good.
look at them, it's been years and years since some of these have been cleared out.
Sure.
And, you know, it's nobody's actual fault if we don't have the funds and we don't have the manpower. But somehow, we're gonna we have to find the manpower and the funding, or we're gonna be building infrastructure that's just gonna be dissolved away by the elements.
And I'm not disputing that we need to do these things. Just to give you an idea, the culvert over near the Torque that's $90,000 for one culvert. It's incredible.
It is.
The cost, and it was $1 million a mile back in 2016. It's gone up substantially. The price of oil, which is part and parcel of blacktop, and is a component of blacktop, is horribly expensive. It's really disheartening.
Yeah, and part of the issue is too, we're getting strap grants from the state. We can get up to $1 million, which we finally got for Middle Road. But it was delayed for a year or two because the state has in mind they want us to pave as many miles as we can. So they're looking at doing reclaiming just paving. And we're looking at what they call cold in place. We're looking at full depth construction, fix the drainage, because what's the sense, like you said, what's the sense of tarring over it, and in 5 years we've got to do it again.
Yeah.
So the problem is we can only do half a Middle Road instead of all Middle Road. So it's going to be a long road, but in our opinion, we're going to do it right when we do it. And hopefully next year we can hire that 4th person. And I just hope we can keep up with what we have.
And also, be mindful, that we have water and sewer lines which are incredibly old. So 60% of our sewer is in good condition, but that means 40% is not. We have an administrative consent order issued by the DEP on both the Briggsville water system as well as the sewer system that require expensive fixes. And clearly, we're right at our levy limit, right at it. I mean, we're within $1,000 of where we can tax. And like Bob said, we had tried very diligently to get another person on the DPW, but the finances of the town just would not do it.
Well, and then, that's not the intro, but then we had, I just said, I think we wanted to hire like a college person or somebody at school 18 that could run, mow lawns and stuff, and we didn't have anybody apply. And it just...
It's most disheartening that the labor force from COVID-19, pre versus post, has changed considerably. And so what I would say is that we live in a different world. If there are volunteers that would like to take over the cemetery, by all means, I have no problem with that. But I'll tell you quite honestly, we have problems filling town boards, that people are just involved in their own activities and choose not to serve on town boards. And sometimes it's not a pleasant experience. I get that because people have very passionate views over divergent issues. So what I would say is I would encourage, if somebody, has some time to volunteer, we don't turn away volunteers. And we were very fortunate to have the staff that we do have. We may be financially poor, but we're very rich in the human resources that we do have. And also understanding, the town is recovering from a horrendous mass resignation, and it nearly crippled the town. So when I came back, I thought that it would take a year to get back to where we needed to be. I've been back 20 months, and we've turned the corner, but we're not where we need to be. And so, I would ask for patience, but also these are the types of discussions that would be most welcome at town meeting in May. I mean, we went to town meeting and hardly anybody attends. Briggsville had its annual meeting. Nobody showed up. Zero. Nobody. And I know people are busy. I get that. And, everybody has to work, and, the Berkshires is a tough economy. I get that too. So I would ask for your patience. We're writing grants as quickly as we can, but at the same time, there's more to a grant than just writing it and sending it off, because you have to implement it, which is a long, tedious process.
And they're annual grants. I mean, you can only get one a year. They're maxed at $1 million like the strike grant. But it also brings us to the next thing. The good news is, with Town Hall and the people we hired, there's Rochelle and Kelly and Marilyn, our town clerk, and Carl, we really are getting back on our feet as far as the town goes and running Town Hall. And that was the first thing that had to be done. I mean, they had all they can do that first year to try to keep the town together, and you can't.
And the lights on and the doors open.
Yeah. And then to go along with this flooding, Town Hall was flooded, for those that don't know. The basement had a couple inches of water in it. And I want to thank everybody there. Kelly actually took her shoes off and walked bare feet to put a sump pump in one area, and they stayed, and they worked so hard to keep that water out of there. And we just got a really excellent crew, not only in the DPW, but down at Town Hall. So the good news is, well, bad news we've been talking about, good news is we're definitely moving in a positive direction. It's just, it takes time and money, and we don't have it. And we'll do the best we can and keep after it.
And to just add on to the town hall situation, so, we did get flooded, and we do have a lot of carpeting in that building. So we obviously contacted our insurance carrier. They came yesterday. They have approved. We are qualified. They are going to cover it. It's $45,000 in damage, which is significant. If our insurance carrier did not cover this, we would be in a bad way. And for such a, you would think that a municipality, $45,000 is nothing, but yeah, for a town that has no money, it's quite significant. And then Mike Williams went around with the Massachusetts Emergency Management Guide to review all of the damages throughout the town. So we're going to be submitting, it has to be in by Friday, of our rough estimates of where we are. And we're looking at $1.839 million in damage in town. And a significant portion is Upper West Road and Horgan Road are the two most impacted. But I would also like to extend gratitude on behalf of the town to the Clarksburg Volunteer Fire Company. Because at 1 o'clock in the morning, both the DPW as well as our police department and as well as numerous members of the Clarksburg Volunteer Fire Company to pump out a road, not a house, a road. Carson Avenue had feet of water. We live in a hilly terrain, and water runs downhill and collects, and then it picks up quite a velocity. In so doing, it has caused some significant damage. And I think that, if people keep in mind, that our infrastructure has been neglected pretty much my whole generation. I think my grandparents' generation, as well as my parents' generation, left us a really good infrastructure, and we've done nothing but run it into the ground in favor of lower taxes. You can't have low taxes and perfect roads. It's not going to happen. You have to either pay for it through that taxes, or it's not going to get done. And it's unfortunate, but for many of the years, since Proposition 2.5 has been in effect, that we have not invested properly. And I'd also like to point out that Proposition 2.5 only allows us to go up on the taxes 2.5% per year. We rely heavily on state aid. Understanding that this past fiscal year, we're dealing with 8.46% inflation from year to year. So while prices are going up, nearly galloping at 99%, and we can only go up 2.5% on the levy, and the state aid was less than 1% increase, less than 1% for both the school as well as the town. You can see that we're going to get less for more. And that's really the sad story of where we are. At town meeting, we did pass the ability to lease the landfill for solar. So we would get a rental fee, which is going to be rather substantial for 20 years, and also the property tax on the equipment. And so we also would like to do the same thing with the school, but we have to get an act of the legislature, and I'm not kidding, we really do, to go beyond a 10-year lease through the school committee. So we are trying to diversify the tax base, and we need to, because if we don't, then there will be more of what has been happening, and as climate change gets more intense, it's not going to get better, it's going to get worse, and that's why we're in the MVP program.
And there also, there was volunteers that came down to town hall. I know Jeffrey Williams did, but. And I think
Yes,
John
thank you,
Cole-
Jeff, by the way, I forgot.
Yeah, they came down with some pumps.
And Kevin Hempstead too.
Okay, yeah, and I don't know everybody, so if I leave anybody out, I'm sorry about that, but I know that people did come down and really help out.
Brought their wet
where we are.
bags, they stayed and worked for 4 or 5 hours, and I thank them.
It was not fun.
No, it wasn't, it was horrible.
The second we thought we were getting caught up on a room, it just kept coming, and even if it wasn't raining out anymore, it just kept coming as it was seeping up from the ground. It just spread from one corner of the building and the other, it just...
I'm running out of dry shoes to wear to work.
Yep.
I just had a general question. Is there any, like, rural government coalitions where the towns in Franklin County, maybe Upper Northern, Berkshire, can
Well, it's
get
funny-
together and talk to their...
It's funny you ask that because the governor has appointed Ann Goldby, who used to be a senator down in the central part, and she is running up a committee for rural issues. So it looks like they're going to pay a little more attention to us. But here's the issue, and it's not the representatives, so I'll give you an example. There's 351 towns in Massachusetts, 40 senators. Our senator, Representative or Senator Paul Mark, has 53 towns. That's a sixth of the state. How can he go to every town and take care of all our issues? We're down in the big cities, they got one senator, you know,
For a
city.
neighborhood.
Yeah, for a neighborhood, like in Boston, so they can concentrate on this and get money for them. And it is such a difficult task. That you know, we're in a really tough situation. But the state looks like they're going to spend more time. They opened up also an office in Springfield, a governor's office administration with an assistant. And my wife and I did go down a couple weeks ago and tried to explain all the issues we have here in Clarksburg, including money for the school roof and everything. I don't want to go over everything, but we are reaching out and they are listening. I don't know what'll come of it, but we're trying the best we can.
We're being heard, and I think Charlie Baker's administration did more than the previous, and I have great hopes for the Healy administration. Kudos to Bob and his wife Lauren for driving to Springfield to advocate for the town. And you know, we've been reaching out to our officials. I testified before the House and Senate on issues relative to the payment in lieu of taxes. Our payment in lieu of taxes in 2002 was $28,000. This past year it was 26. I mean, 21 years later, and we're still not where we were 21 years ago. So there's some inherent unfairness, and you know, we're not asking for special just asking to be treated fairly. That's all we want.
Okay, is there anybody else that would like to talk about the flooding or has any issues there? Okay, we're going to move on to the 225th Anniversary Committee. For those who don't know, we're celebrating our 225th anniversary at Clarksburg. It's going to be September 9th down at Town Field. I think from 11 to 5, but those hours may change. We have a committee together, and we're trying to raise funds because we don't have town funds to run this. And I would like to publicly thank, we have raised $1,300 so far from 3 donors, NBT Bank, Adams Community Bank, and R.I. Baker had generous donations for us. We have many other letters out, and I actually went out and contacted a lot of other banks and businesses. And we're hoping to raise $4,000 to $4,500. We think that'll get us through. We want to have a climbing wall for kids. The school's going to be involved. But we have entertainment lined up.
And the MVP.
And the MVP is going to have a booth for that's going to show everybody what we want down there in the future and everything. So it's also the library's 125th. The fire department in September celebrating like 87 years. The senior center in December, this will be 20 years old, this building. So every group is going to have like a booth, and there's a liaison on the committee from each group, and they're all going to do their own thing. And we plan to have a nice big event on September 9th. So anybody want to add anything on that?
I think after COVID, people want to get out and shout. And so we're sick of being cooped up, and I think that this would be a good avenue for that. And
Hopefully it brings our townspeople together
And let's hope it
have a
doesn't
party.
rain. And let's hope it doesn't rain.
Yeah, good God, no, please.
All right, next is the Mass Works update.
Okay, so we're doing the culvert next to the Torquia's house because we couldn't fit that into the $1 million grant. So that should be bid this month. We're doing the pre-bid walk conference for the paving section, which has numerous items to look at and to bid upon. So that'll be later this month also. So we're moving as quickly as possible. And understand, things are a little bit slower than they used to be because the bipartisan infrastructure bill passed in Washington. And thank God it's spread out over 10 years, but it is creating some bottlenecks, supply and demand, and that there's a finite supply of engineers and workers. And because now there is some funding available, there's an increase in demand. So demand is going up and supply has actually gone down. So that is creating some delays, not that we're happy with it, but there's a whole lot of nothing that we can do about it. But we're moving as quickly as we can, and the efforts, the diversion of our efforts to dealing with the flooding at Town Hall specifically has eaten into a lot of our work time this week. It basically ate the whole thing up, and we're not done. So patience is a virtue.
And on that, Mass Works, we're also, by next May or so, we have to apply for the second half of the Middle Road. We're applying for another $1 million to do that. The good news on that is we think we can do a mill and fill there because there's not the major drainage issues. So if we can, and we haven't talked to Kyle personally yet about that, but if we can, they have a better tendency of getting accepted because that's what the state wants. They want flat. They want us to pave. So hopefully we can get that. But again, I know we said it many times, but we're working the best we can to try to get grants to get some of these problems done. The Middle Road culvert update?
I just kind of gave it.
Okay.
But just piggybacking on your the Mass Works grant also allows for some infrastructure too. So we've got some sewer lines that we would like to take care of, and water lines too. And that's one of the reasons that we haven't touched North Eagle Street, because we kind of know what's underneath there. And also, if you look at this road out here, that was done in 2016, and it was done with Colden Place. And part of that process is that they grind up and reuse the existing pavement. They treat it, and then they also add Portland cement to it, versus a mill and fill. They basically mill the road to a level, and then they just repave over it. And so that's the difference between what we want and what Boston wants to see. So the thing is, you look and that road has no potholes in it, and that thing is 7 years old, so that's an abnormal thing. We're not a community that can afford to keep doing roads over and over and over and over. So I would rather do it once, do it right, and be done with it, and move on to the next project. And I'm good, thank you.
Okay, that brings us to unfinished business, which we're going to talk about the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission, the net zero.
Yeah. Yes, sir, you want to come up, or you want to talk from there? It's up to you.
Whatever you want, I'm very flexible.
I guess because of the camera, it would be best if you come up here, just so.
Welcome to our humble abode.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
For coming. Thanks, Kyle.
My name is Trudeau Fernandez-Obear. I'm a planner with the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission on the Energy and Environmental team. We work with the town on a number of things. Some of our team members help out with the MVP program. We also help out with the Green Communities program. And we have money through Mass CEC to help out with a variety of other projects, including helping residents of Clarksburg access the Mass Save program, which is an energy efficiency program that's run through the state. And so we wanted to propose working with the town to make that more available to residents. I don't know how familiar folks are with the program. If no one has any questions, we can talk about other things, but if people have questions about the program, I can give a brief breakdown of how it works.
An overview would be good
Yeah,
for
great.
the audience.
Sorry to say I don't even know a lot about it, so I'd like to hear.
Not a problem. Do this a lot. So Mass Save is an energy efficiency program that is paid into through utility bills. Everyone receives a energy efficiency surcharge line item. It's like 1/10 of a cent or something every month on your utility bill, but it's collected every month, every year, and it's been going on for several years, and that's what funds the program. And what it does is it offers 3 key phases. The first is a home energy assessment. A certified energy assessor will come, they'll take a look at your home, they'll make recommendations on where you can receive more insulation or weather gapping to keep your home well insulated. The second step is insulation and weatherization upgrades that come the bare minimum at a 75% discount. Depending on income level, the program will pay up to 100% for those eligible. And then the third step is shifting from oil or gas burning furnaces to heat pumps, which are basically the thing that makes your refrigerator work. It moves hot air to where you want it or cold air to where you want it, and it can work as both a heating and cooling system basically year round. There are some models that will work up to about -5, -15 degrees, and they're very efficient if your home has already been well insulated. And we know that there's a lot of issues navigating the program. There's a lot of delays, especially now after COVID, with long wait times and just getting access to equipment, but also a general lack of contractors. So BRPC wants to facilitate a more friendly way of navigating the program where you don't just get stuck on hold or end up having a call that you send in and never get an answer to. So that's our primary goal here. There are several towns in the Berkshire County area that are part of what's called the Community First Partnership, which receives additional funding through Mass Save to do more outreach and education, but none of the benefits available to residents is different anywhere in the state. Everyone gets the same access.
And is this part and parcel of the net zero?
It is somewhat separate. The net zero planning is available through DOER as part of their Regional Energy Planning Assistance Program.
Yeah, because we're going into that too, so I was wondering if you were to speak to that, but I don't want to get the cart before the horse.
Well, I can speak to that. I don't know when we'll probably hear about the awards for that grant program around the end of August. Happy to discuss it now, or if you want to wait until we find out what's been funded, we could discuss it then.
Well, why don't we wait until we get funding?
Sounds good.
Good, thank you.
All right, well, thank you.
Happy to.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
And sorry for moving the meeting here.
I made it. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and sorry
And
to,
without a vote. Thank you very much.
sorry to keep it to the end, too. Is there anything else? Dan, you have anything?
Nothing I can think of off the top of my head.
I think we're all set.
I think so.
Okay, does anybody else have anything they want to say?
I'm just curious, like, wasn't the board originally 3 people, so is it now just?
No, Jeff Labanis had some issues and couldn't make it today.
Okay, but he's still.
But he's on part here.
Okay.
So you got Dan, myself, and Jeff as the select board, and Carl as the town administrator. So, all right, thank you all, and I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 5:15.